All right, here we go. Here we go. Live from Maine. Turtleboy is coming up. We're going to talk to him about his beautiful time down on Cape Cod. What is going on with Karen Reed? Is she going to get her SUV back? Is she going to get her phone back? And what about the civil trial? O'Keefe's family has a civil case against Karen Reed. What is the status with that? Why even go forward? Everybody in Canton, Massachusetts is still scratching their heads. Who the hell killed this guy? Let's see what ground we can cover with Turtleboy coming up here. And also Andrew Callaghan is joining us. He is the Edward R. Murrow of modern journalism. He covered January 6th like nobody's business, and he sat down for 3 hours with Hunter Biden and learned more about crack cocaine than he ever bargained for. It's Hot Mics live from Maine, and it starts right now. Oh, here we are on Hot Mics today. It is Monday, August 4th, and so many people anticipating what we have to talk about today. A lot of people want to know about this cryptic message that came up. Alan Jackson had said, we're not done with the Karen Reed trial. We are not done with the McAlberts, with Brian Albert and his wife and Jen McCabe and all these characters that went after Karen Reed tooth and nail. What happens now? The jury unanimously acquitted Karen Reed on all 3 charges. Well, what now? I mean, you're telling me in the state of Massachusetts, it's okay that a police officer was killed and no one cares? It's not enough to say, oh, no, the jury got it wrong. We know Karen did this, so we, the police, we, law enforcement in Massachusetts, are okay. Bull. No. That's the system of government we have. The jury said no. She didn't do a darn thing. And so, now what? Are they going to go after the McAlberts? What's going on in Canton? They've got this civil case here. The O'Keefe family filed in August of 2024. So a year ago, they filed this case against Karen. Judge said, we got to hang on to it until the criminal case is done, and then we can revisit it. And now they're going to revisit it. The O'Keefe family wants a minimum of $50,000, which is, I thought they'd be going for a whole lot more. They want a minimum of $50,000. They're suing Karen for intentionally or recklessly striking John O'Keefe with the car. If you really, this is the time to walk away from it and say, we're just going to go and grieve our son. You're making it very hard for people to feel badly, to feel empathy for you. You lost a son. We want to feel badly for you. Let us feel badly. Don't make people hate you because you're not letting this go. Chasing Karen Reed still is so ridiculous. So they're suing Karen for intentionally or recklessly striking John O'Keefe with her car. And they're suing 2 bars. They're suing C.F. McCarthy's and the Waterfall Bar and Grill for, over-serving Karen, basically. Joining us right now is the one and only Turtleboy, the man who rallied. He rallied he brought the village people out. This thing might have gone law enforcement's way. It might have gone their way had Turtleboy not taken his drum, beat the thing, and brought people out to the streets. And then it became, it went way beyond that, as you know. And here he is right now. First of all, I got to check in. Aidan, tell me, what's going on with your legal situation? Are you out of the woods? Are they done messing with you?
Far from it, but we're on the offensive right now. We're trying to get a bunch of legal we have a hearing coming up on August 13th, and at the last hearing, we've got all these messages that we got in discovery from McAlberts to various people at the district attorney's office, whole bunch of text messages from Michael Morrissey himself. Really, really interesting stuff in these text messages that the public has a right to see. and quite frankly, it's outrageous, it's salacious, and you have a right to see the stuff that's in these messages, but they are currently under impoundment. And the prosecutor, Robert Cosgrove,
because of Karen's phone.
No, just because they just impound everything. Like this stuff
Yeah.
is, it's got nothing to do with Karen's phone. It's got nothing to do with the Karen Reed case. I mean, well, it involves the McAlberts and whatnot and their messages, but it shows the evolution of how a lot of these charges came to be in the first place for both Karen and me. And we have Proctor messages, we have all types of stuff, and it's under impoundment right now. And we filed a motion to unimpound them, and the government is objecting to that. And Cosgrove, the special prosecutor, we call him Triple Dip. He's a former judge out of retirement. He's collecting 2 pensions and an extra paycheck for doing this. And he's opposing this because he says that if because I have such a large platform, I will use these messages to embarrass the witnesses and cause them more harm, because apparently we're not allowed to embarrass Michael Proctor anymore than he already has been.
Welcome, Turtleboy, says Joy. The turtle always wins the race. Is that the way it was? Did the turtle always win? Yeah, he beat the hare, didn't he?
I feel like, yeah, he did. He was patient.
Against
his time
all
came.
odds.
Yeah, his time came. I think that's what's the longer they push this, the more we're going to go on the offensive and show exactly what's happening here. I'm not the least bit worried about these charges or anything like that. We're going to beat them. It's a matter of how and when, not if. Either they can drop the charges, but when a new district attorney comes we can file another motion to dismiss. We're going to have another motion to dismiss coming up, because in the indictment against me, they took all my shows, right, where I, talked about the case or whatever, and they renamed them. They gave them like really nefarious titles. And like, for instance, one of the shows was called like Commonwealth Corruption, something to that nature. And they titled it like Aidan's threatening Colin Albert. Like, that's obviously not the name of the show, but they presented it to the grand jury as that. So we have another motion to dismiss based on just these outrageous titles that they lied to the grand jury about with my case to make me sound like I'm like the boogeyman. It's just ridiculous.
But listen, why would the O'Keefe family, like I said it before you got here, like, let us grieve the guy. A police officer died, like no one's got anything against John O'Keefe at all. And yet the family just is putting everyone in this position of not liking them and making it hard to grieve, their son. And by carrying on with the civil trial, which is going to be a complete waste of time, they're not going to win it. They have no chance of winning it.
No, I mean, their only hope was a settlement, which, because that's how a lot of these cases
They're not going to
work.
get that.
Well, it's really not up to Karen Reed even. It's up to her insurance carriers, I guess, because that's how these things get settled a lot, is like people sue someone and then your insurance covers it and they pay for it. And they're like, well,
that's embarrassing for the insurance company to say after what happened and the acquittal and the big scene that was, that went nationwide, you're going to go strike a check. I don't think so.
Yeah, you're right. With the acquittal, I think they have all the momentum. They have no reason to settle. It's just a matter of like, they have to pay for the attorneys to litigate this, and when you prevail in a lawsuit, which you're the defendant in Massachusetts, you don't get to sue for court costs. Like, it's not, you're out all that money. So like, even when you win, you still lose in Massachusetts. And that's what's happened with Karen Reed with her case. It's not like the government's reimbursing her for all her legal fees or anything like that. Yeah, she won. Great. But it's not like they're admitting that they did anything wrong. What they should be worried about, though, is this lawsuit that's coming that Alan Jackson kind of alluded to. And I can confirm that Karen Reed is going to be suing the state police in particular, amongst others, in federal court for their involvement in covering up and framing her for murder.
Yeah. That's what Alan was referring to. So there's some people in the comment section here going, I'm scouring everywhere. What are you talking about? He did allude to, hey, I told you we weren't done. We're not done. So Karen is going to file a federal lawsuit against Massachusetts State Police. That's going to be a big one. What a scene that will be.
Yeah. Obviously there's a lot of hurdles to overcome because of, there's immunity, like every defendant would just sue anytime they were acquitted. Right. But she's got a really strong case for it. because as we've seen, a lot of evidence was destroyed. And just those text messages alone, all those Proctor group text messages, those alone, the fact that every detective involved with her case was saying such disgusting things about her, right, shows that they're biased, right, that they didn't treat her fairly. And she's got a pretty, I think she's got a pretty good shot. If Alan Jackson's getting involved, that guy doesn't like to waste his time. So I would say that's a good sign.
You know, what everyone wants to know, will the McAlberts be held accountable? I mean, and that would only happen if the O'Keefes turned around and changed their mind and filed a suit against them, right? They're going to get away with it. They got away with it. They will get away with it. There is no reckoning. Yeah.
Yeah. Criminally, I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think any of them are going to go to jail or anything. I kind of gave up on that one a while ago, but I do think that, you know, in the court of public opinion, everyone's going to always know what they did. And with this civil suit, like if they all get deposed and whatnot, I mean, more information could come out. Who knows if she could sue them? You know, she could sue all them. You know, John O'Keefe died on Brian Albert's front lawn. She could sue him. You know, she could sue anyone she wants. I don't know what she could get out of him, but you know, all these people, you know, you don't have Fifth Amendment rights when you're deposed in one of these civil lawsuits. And so we could find more information out. And in my case too, if I have an evidentiary hearing, if I end up going to trial with any of these people, like we're going to have to do this all over again, because they're going to ask me, you know, why were you doing these things? Why were you asking Jennifer McCabe these questions? Why are you accusing them of this? And I'm like, well, because I think they're guilty of murder, and here's why. And then we're going to air it all. We're going to do it all over again. So like my defense in my case is I think they committed murder. So I'm asking them questions and I'm treating them as such. And, you know, what do you want from me?
Let me ask you a question. Did you ever get nervous about accusing someone of murder, even if you're pretty, like, you know, they did? Like, there's something like, doesn't it tighten up a little bit in here before you say you're a murderer?
Yeah, you know, it's a
Publicly?
serious accusation for sure, and
Yeah.
I don't take it lightly. I wouldn't say that if I wasn't sure of it. You know, like I'm sure that Karen Reed didn't do it, and yet John O'Keefe is still dead, and somebody killed him, and so there's no other alternative. Like it was either her or them, and the jury has soundly said, resoundingly, that it was not her. And the doctors have said that everybody who matters has said that she didn't do this, which means we're all looking at you guys, you know, and sure, you might not get in trouble for it because who's going to investigate you? The state police aren't going to do that. Obviously, the DA's office isn't going to do that. All the evidence has been destroyed, right? You're not going to get caught. But, you know, at the end of the day, how come they're not suing me? You know, I've been calling these people murderers for almost 3 years now. And I keep hearing that I'm going to get sued for defamation. Every day I check the mail, it never comes. So I don't think they want any part of that, because they know that I would prevail in that lawsuit and they would all have to be deposed and we'd have to do this all over again. They don't want that.
You drove down to the Cape, spent a little time down there. You went down Higgy Lane. You went down Brian Higgins Road, and he came out and he was yelling at you. And what made you drive down his cul-de-sac? You just wanted to see where the big guy lived. And
I wasn't driving. You know, I was with.
Well, you were in the car. You could have said, "Don't go down."
Yeah, I could. I suppose I could have made a big stink about it, but we were in the neighborhood, so. You know, my girlfriend lived down there, and her parents, they lived in Mashpee, which is a neighboring town to Sandwich. And, you know, we just went out to Dunkin's, got a coffee. And then, you know, we came back, and she's like, well, Brian Higgins lives around here. We should check out his house. I'm like, sure. And so we drove by. I didn't think he'd be home. You know, we drove right by, and then there he is on the front lawn. Yeah, he'd lost some weight, not like the good kind of losing weight either, like stress weight. And so we did a turn around the cul-de-sac. I'm like, I didn't think he saw us or anything like that. And then he's now right on the edge of the street yelling, "Get the F out of here!" And we kind of ran after us after we drove away. I didn't say a word to him, like nothing. I wanted no part of it. I'm like, it was like a sightseeing tour. Like you're in the neighborhood, you're like, there's Brian Higgins' house. I didn't think he'd be on the lawn. You know?
How are his wheels? Could he move?
No, he's got like 3 cars. He got like a couple trucks. I don't know. He's got a whole array of vehicles on his property. his compound, I call it. He's got cameras everywhere,
Oh boy.
signs. The guy is like living on pins and needles, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But and that's ultimately, I mean, Karen Reed's living free. She's living.
Have
She's
you
got a
spoken to
bright
her?
future.
Where is
Yeah.
Karen? Like what? I actually did speak to her. I went out when I got back to Los Angeles. I'd done some travel, and Alan Jackson returned. He and I got together, went to Houston's for a Vesper Martini. I said, I wonder what kind of cocktail Alan Jackson likes. Is he a Manhattan guy? Is he an old-fashioned guy? A Vesper Martini. I joined him in that. And he put me on the phone with Karen, and she was terrific. Had a nice chat with her. But what's interesting to a lot of people is she hasn't done an interview. Does that surprise you?
No, I mean, she's doing that on purpose because she's saving herself, kind of, I think, for the highest bidder. Although I if I were her, I would do it sooner the better, like, because people are going to move on. There's going to be the next big thing. You kind of want to strike while the iron's hot while you're still in the public eye, so I would, from my conversations with her, she's struggling, quite frankly, adjusting to the new reality. I think that she thought that, she's dreamed of the day when she'd be acquitted, just like we all have. And then when it came, it's just like, oh my God, it's over. Like this for the last 3.5 years, her entire life has been working on her case. And then it's just over. But you still have this uneasy feeling that, like, they're not done with me, like what is their next move? They're not giving her phone back. They're not giving her car back. What are they up to? Like, what do these people have in mind for her? So, like, she's constant, like, it's a PTSD thing. She's been through trauma. I mean, it's traumatic going through all this, like, and the roller coaster of going through there and waiting for that verdict. I was inside the courtroom when it happened. Like, I've never felt anything like it. The kind of tension that was inside that small little courtroom, not knowing that, like, in a minute, like, your fate is about to be decided, and like, you could be leaving here and going to jail for a long time, and then to just be acquitted, it's obviously, it's a great feeling, but it's mentally a lot to overcome. So I think she's still coming. It's going to be a while, I think, before she's back to normal, whatever that is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, learning how to breathe again, is someone just put up on the screen there a second ago. Aidan Kearney is Turtleboy, and he's with us here, and instrumental in rallying public support for Karen Reed, and ultimately, in her exoneration, her vindication. So, you ran into Ben Affleck down there in Cape Cod. How did you run into Ben? Just I love this picture of you and the big guy.
Yeah, he's cool. I can't get into it too much because I don't want to cause too much speculation. And there are, like, I don't know if we lost Billy there, but there are legal considerations, contractual considerations that I'm not allowed to talk about. But it was really nice meeting Ben. He's a very talented.
What do you mean contractual situation? Is this about the movie?
Well, that's what I can't get into. If it was, I wouldn't be able to talk about it.
Is Ben going to play Alan Jackson?
I can't say. I'm not allowed to say anything.
This is big news here.
I can't. I'm not confirming or denying anything. I can't.
Somebody posted Ben plays Alan Jackson and his buddy Matt Damon plays Turtleboy. Someone posted a second ago, Billy Bush should play Turtleboy. I haven't acted in a while. I got to dust off my chest. What about Turtleboy playing Turtleboy, or what Alan Jackson suggested to me, Jack Black as Turtleboy? Now, don't go on aesthetics right now. It's not a physical thing. Think of the character, the personality of Jack Black. It's very interesting.
The personality, I can see. Yeah, that's true. But thank you. But we do not have a director set. There is a short list. We don't have any actors or actresses set. There is a short list.
Who's on it? Give us some names.
I can't. I wish I really can't. I would be violating my own contract if I did that. But I'm kind of kept in the loop to a degree. But it was nice meeting Ben Affleck.
This EB says, I wish Shia LaBeouf wasn't a turd. He would make a great Alan Jackson. I wouldn't call him that. Look at this on the screen right here. Sally says, John Goodman is Higgins. Not bad.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Not good. I've heard some really good ones. The best one I've heard is as Judge Bev Canoni, Amy Schumer.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
That's almost a must, don't you think? I mean, that's really
It
good.
is. But I mean, Bev's a lot older than her. I think Amy's
Adam
like,
Sandler for Hank Brennan right here.
I could see that. I could see Adam. Yeah, but everybody likes Adam Sandler, so like you wouldn't want to. He would ruin. You wouldn't want to ruin Adam Sandler by making him Hank Brennan because he'd have to be the villain.
What about Kevin James as Higgy? That's not bad.
Not bad. Not bad.
People are really working here. Anyway, Turtle Boy, I really appreciate chatting with me on this, and we'll keep up on it. Look, Alan Jackson just responded. He said, "Yep, that was my post, and I would love to grab another Vesper soon."
Oh, nice. Excellent.
Who doesn't
guy.
love Houston's? You're not a real guy if you don't like Houston's. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, there you go. Never.
Thanks
I've
a
never.
lot.
I've never had one. I can't say I can't confirm or deny if I like those, but maybe I will too. And I'll try. I'll give one of those a try.
We're gonna treat you to a Vesper. You've earned it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Billy.
Thanks, brother. The great Turtle Boy right there. Man, that guy's really done it all. All right, we're going to welcome another guest coming up here in a second. Really fascinating guy, Andrew Callaghan. He's done some amazing things. Andrew Callaghan was right there in the middle of January 6th, and he made a movie, and he sold it, a documentary, and he sold it to HBO, all about it, called This Place Rules. And then he interviewed Hunter Biden just a couple weeks ago. Millions and millions of people have seen it, and he sat there. It was a 3-hour interview, probably longer after the edits, but fascinating what he learned. I wonder how many F-bombs were in that, by the way. Maybe Callahan has added them up. But right now, before we get to him, I want to tell you about our sponsor today, Venbrook Insurance. They mean a lot to us. Here's a quote for you. You don't have to be global to be vulnerable. Really good quote from Jeffrey Lang. Venbrook's supply chain insurance team nailed it with that line. Every business depends on suppliers, whether it's parts, packaging, raw materials, or tech. If something goes wrong upstream or down the line, it can impact your bottom line. Natural disasters, political unrest, cyber attacks can hit even, when you least expect it. That is why Venbrook's supply chain insurance goes beyond traditional business interruption coverage. So your business doesn't stall out when the world shifts, which it inevitably does. Set up a consultation today with their risk experts. Venbrook is all about helping businesses put the right coverage behind them so they can take bold steps forward. That's why their tagline is boldly go forward. You can book a free consultation at venbrook.com/hotmics. Tell them the Bushman sent you. All right. Very pleased to welcome Andrew Callaghan. He sat there in a backyard somewhere with Hunter Biden. And boy, did we learn a lot. We learned about what happened to Joe Biden. We learned about his debate that we all, June 27th of last year, we all went, what the F just happened to Joe Biden? We learned about that. We learned about so many other things. There's Andrew. He's been doing this for a minute. How long you've been tubing?
I've been tubing since like 2019. That's when I graduated from college, but I used to write for my school newspaper, and then I just figured the tube was a better option than that.
Yeah. Would you call yourself a journalist, a documentarian, and a curious person?
Well, according to The Atlantic, I'm a Gen Z influencer, which is the worst title I've heard so far. But I would definitely say journalist. I mean, I went to school for journalism. Probably my first projects were like party interviews on Bourbon Street and at different festivals. So I wouldn't really call that journalism. That was more like entertaining video creation, verging on documentary filmmaking. But now I would definitely give myself the journalist title.
Yeah, for sure. You're Hunter Biden. I mean, now that's a little off the beat for you because, right? The most recent video we watched was Albuquerque streets up on Channel 5, his YouTube page, and look, fascinating, unbelievable what fentanyl is doing to that city. It's just awful. Just the destitution. These people are so deeply addicted and messed up, and you talk about how it got there, the chemists in China, how they sell it to the Mexican cartels, and the cartels come in and destroy our cities. Bold stuff. But before we'll touch to that, let's go to how you shoot sort of movie style things, documentary style things, and now you're sitting in a backyard with Hunter Biden. How did that happen?
Yeah, it was quite the experience. So ever since I moved to California and started working in the entertainment industry, I got an entertainment lawyer to help write contracts, release forms and stuff like that. He reached out to me one day and he said, "Hey, I got a different client, Mr. Hunter Biden, who wants to sit down with you." I was like, "No way." Because, obviously, he hasn't sat down with anybody. He's been in
Yeah.
the news for 4 years. I think he did a couple different late night TV slots back in 2021 to promote his new book, but he hasn't done a candid, free form interview about the laptop scandal or anything like that. So I was like, "No way is this real." And I was like, "All right, set a Zoom call with me and Hunter." So I talked to him on Zoom. And one thing that Hunter expressed is that the reason that he trusted me to be the first person he wanted to talk to was because of our business model. Channel 5 is mostly funded, probably 95% funded by Patreon support each month. So to him, that was a sort of a that meant that he could take our sincerity at face value because we don't have the pressure of an investor or someone higher up than me, like a senior editor, to force us to editorialize a certain direction. So then a week later, I was in the foothills of northern Delaware, putting a lav
Wow.
mic on him, and you said before the show rolled, or before you had me on, that it was probably longer than 3.5 hours before editing, and yes, it was more like a 5 hour interview that we had,
Wow.
because he kind of talks, he rambles a little bit like his father. That's kind of
I,
their
I
their
noticed that.
cadence.
Hunter Biden has a little bit of the marbles like Joe, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's that. And how many F-bombs would you say that Hunter dropped in total? Did anyone do a little drinking game around that?
That's what's funny is, like, I didn't actually notice that he was cursing so much. Maybe because the people that I'm around curse a lot. I think people just curse in general a lot more off camera than they do on
He
camera.
was squeezing it between words. He was like, I need, I'm washing my hair with some sham fucking poo. He was effing so much that there were tweeners, there were non-essentials, there were emphatic ones, a
Yeah,
lot.
I
He was
mean,
pissed, right? He was hopped up. He was really, I don't know, had a lot to say.
can you say the word fuck here on this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, we did. I think you
Oh,
can.
okay. I thought you, because you said F bomb, then you said the real words. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, he said
Yeah.
fuck a bunch of times, but I mean, I was just surprised that that was the angle that the mainstream press like rode with the hardest whenever the interview came out. Like it took between. I was very curious about how the media sphere would react to the interview, and profanity seemed to be the main angle, which I get, but at the same time, I felt like that was just a small cosmetic feature to a pretty in depth conversation.
What moved you the most with Hunter Biden? Andrew Callaghan here from Channel 5 on YouTube. He's a tremendous following and sat with Hunter Biden for 3 hours. What was the most revelatory for you?
Probably the fact that he had already been sober for 6 months whenever the contents of the laptop leaked online.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
because I understand sobriety and I've had people with severe addiction in my family, especially.
To
And I
see
know that
those
it's a,
pictures of yourself and you've been sober?
not just to see those pictures of yourself floating online, but to have them plastered across every tabloid newspaper in the country for multiple years straight. And especially because he had just gotten like a new wife who was from South Africa, and our ultimatum was like, you have to go sober for at least a year, basically forever, stop smoking crack, and we can get married and have kids. So he's on the straight and narrow. He's 6 months into a great relationship, and then boom, he has the biggest test to sobriety, in my opinion, so far, because obviously people drink and use drugs to cope with hard times in life. So he's presented with the largest scale public humiliation of his life while he's trying to maintain sobriety. And hearing him go into that was definitely a bit touching.
Yeah. I would say his wife probably was terrified. Like, oh God, every time he went out to the grocery store to go get something or, run to the convenience store, like, oh, Jesus, is he taking a left and going to the park? When he was talking about crack cocaine and when he came off of, when he relapsed, he was telling you about like going to Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
And he's like, I saw an old friend from an old person from my past. Her name was Bicycles. I thought,
Yeah.
what a great name for a drug dealer. Bicycles. I don't know why that. Do you ever know why we called her Bicycles? I don't know. But
Mhm.
he's like, as soon as I got that crack and I took one hit, we were off to the races. But he talks about crack cocaine like, you know, it's not as bad as alcohol. It's almost regular cocaine, just with a little baking soda and a match, right?
Well, it is regular cocaine with baking soda.
It is.
Yeah, like I
It's
chemically,
just
I
you're
looked
just
into it
heating
after
up.
the interview. Yeah, you're heating it up to make it smokable, and the difference is becomes much more. Well, it's fast acting, much like powder cocaine, but the high lasts not very long. So it lasts like 5 to 10 minutes. So you have to keep smoking it. That's part of the reason crack is so addictive. And he shared with me off camera that he was using it every 15 to 30 minutes for years straight. So
Really? All day
yeah,
long. Crack all day long. How
crack
is
has
put
that hold over.
together?
Well, I mean, he doesn't smoke crack anymore, so I think that that's probably had something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because crack in general has been so stigmatized because of the demographic that smokes crack, whereas cocaine gets a different treatment. They're actually
Right.
treated differently in the eyes of the law. I was looking it up. Cocaine is still a Schedule 2 narcotic, and crack cocaine is Schedule 1 and still carries a pretty hefty penalty in some states, though obviously drug laws have reformed since the crime bill was passed in the 90s, but still huge disparity.
Yeah, cocaine's sort of sexy. People think about like the cocaine in the 70s and the 80s when it was clean, clean takeoff, clean flight, clean landing, and there was a romantic quality to it.
Yeah, totally. The Scarface.
Oh,
Yeah. And also, cocaine was purer back then. You didn't have fentanyl and these different drugs they were cutting it with to make people die.
so Andrew Callaghan
Mhm.
is from Channel 5 on YouTube. You've seen him before, and he's doing some amazing stuff. You did the most recent video is Albuquerque streets,
Mhm.
and it's talking about the fentanyl crisis and what it's doing to, oh my God, so many people in that city. It's how do you choose what you're going to do?
Well, I just like the American Southwest because I lived in an RV for several years, and that's the most picturesque place to live in an RV because of all the national parks and the landscapes. I've always had a personal fascination with Southwestern cities. Additionally, I was a big fan of Breaking Bad for quite some time.
Oh,
That was my intro to Albuquerque. So probably the thought process is like, is it really as bad as portrayed in the show? Who is the Gus Fring of the real world city of the 505?
and you went down there and you talked about the little blues and you learned about the pipeline, but you didn't. Did you learn about the not from the addicts, right? The addicts, what they don't give a shit. They're just looking
No.
for the next high.
Wherever it comes from, they're going to do it. And the thing so insidious about the blues and fentanyl in general is it seems like the cartel is trying to manufacture things that get people higher and higher as opposed to serving a market demand. Not saying it's ethical to import heroin into the US, but heroin, black tar or powdered, had been the same for 40, 50 years. Fentanyl is a very insidious product that is designed to keep people hooked for longer, to be cheaper, and to be even more lethal. And in some cases, they're trying to actually get people hooked onto it who have been addicted to Percocet and prescription painkillers. So it's a negative thing.
There's this journalist that joined Tucker Carlson not long ago talking about, the Chinese marijuana, there's a big in Maine and many other states, these a lot of Chinese offshoots are buying lots and lots of land. They're buying, land around military bases.
Yeah.
That there's this concerted effort in China, like a 30-year plan to take over America and destroy our civilization, our population. And, you talk about these Chinese chemists, who are acting without impunity. 90% of the fentanyl comes from China,
Yeah.
subsidized by the government, supported by the government. They sell to the cartel, pushing these pills, but then they're buying land in Maine. Is that an interest of yours
Yeah,
of
yeah. I
this
just wanted to
long
make a
war with China?
I wanted to make a clear distinction there. The Chinese ethnic group that is controlling the cannabis trade here is an ethnic group called the Hmong Chinese, who are disenfranchised by the CCP, and they generally live in the southern lowlands of China and also like northern Vietnam. They took over the weed game in the mountains of Northern California pre-legalization a long time ago, and so there's kind of a turf war between the Hmong Chinese farmers and the cartel farms up in like Mendocino and Humboldt County. The other flip side of the coin is the fentanyl, on the other hand, is produced by labs that received grants from the CCP. So I do think there is probably an element of biological warfare. I know it sounds crazy, but it does seem like a concerted effort to poison the public. And there's obviously it's hard because on one hand you have a lot of people who blame addicts for using drugs. They say, okay, it's your fault. Addiction is not a disease; it's a choice. You're responsible for whatever you put into your own body. Then on the other hand, you have that kind of same demographic saying, oh, it's a Chinese bio attack. So which is it? Are we placing blame on China? Or are we placing blame on the people who are knowingly purchasing fentanyl?
Who do you place blame on? Where do you think it is?
I would say it's like a mix of both. You know, I definitely do think that addiction can be a disease to a certain point, and especially if you have trauma that's wrapped up in coping mechanisms that involve
Yep.
drugs, you can kind of go down that road. It's especially if you begin in your teenage years, it can follow you for the rest of your life, and you know. But I do think that there is an element of Chinese biological warfare at
Do you
play.
think we are as bad as China is? Like, there's evidence that China's supporting, the worst underbellies, of their society in order to take down ours. Do you think we're doing the same thing?
I mean, I think we're probably trying to. I think what we've done in Latin America, as far as CIA and FBI intervention and installing, puppet dictators every time somebody wants to socialize healthcare, is probably on par with what China's doing with the fentanyl. But at the same time, do I think that we are poisoning the Chinese mainland with drugs to the extent that they're able to get drugs into places like Albuquerque and Philadelphia?
Mm.
Definitely not.
You talk about in your Albuquerque streets, you talk about this sort of an insidious movement there between politicians and real estate developers to
Yeah.
pollute neighborhoods with addiction, right? Homelessness, despair. The property value goes way down, right? You can sell it to developers for nothing. And then they build low income housing, which you always hear,
Yeah.
and people go into it. And then a few years go by and they raise the rent, they raise
Yeah.
Leah, and out they go. And it's sort of a back scratching thing.
Mhm.
How prevalent is that all over the country, do you think?
Pretty prevalent. I mean, you saw it in the Kensington neighborhood in Philadelphia, which is another open air drug zone in Philly that's probably worse than the war zone in Albuquerque. And you can see there's a fault line. If you go past Lehigh Avenue, you can see that there are no drug addicts on the street. Everything is clean, and they're not building low income housing, but they're building identical glass condominiums with juice bars and yoga studios in the lobby, and they're trying to have like a hipster renaissance right there. But then you get to that dividing line, and all of a sudden the cops let everything happen. They just don't care. They contain and they move drug users to a specific area. It does seem like there may be some sort of city conspiracy, at least some sort of conspiracy between city politicians who control the cops and then developers who are looking to buy land for cheap and flip it, and moving. I mean, at least at play in some of these cities. I don't know if it's true. I mean, it looks to be true, but I don't want to get in trouble. I mean, and maybe that sounds like a little bit of a tinfoil hat conspiracy to suggest that there's landlords that are all meeting up with the city and being like, all right, move the homeless people here so that everyone leaves and all the residents flee. I mean, I don't think it's happening that explicitly, but there could be something at play. I'll definitely investigate further in the future.
Yeah, something to look at. I always wonder, what am I not seeing? And it's probably most things. The you've Listen, I look at just watching what you've done in the things you've covered in some of our, there's always something major happening in America, but you covered Stop the Steal in Georgia
Yeah.
and George Floyd in Minnesota. And then, I was fascinated. I don't know where I picked it up, but you got a phone call from Stuart Rhodes on
Yeah.
January 5th, the day before the Capitol riots on January 6th in 21. And he said, Andrew, man, you got to get to the Capitol. It's going to go down tomorrow.
Yeah.
I always thought that the Capitol riot, and maybe it still is, I always thought that it was, no one came to cause, damage and chaos. It just happened. Adrenaline took over the crowd, and and then it just all of a sudden one thing led to the other. One guy's doing something, yeah, and it's just mob mentality, and everybody, and it just sort of blew up in a second.
Yeah.
But
I think that's most of it. I mean, it's like,
okay,
what are you gonna say? I don't
but
want
it
to cut you.
seems like what he was saying is, no, this shit's going down. We're going off tomorrow.
Well, I think that maybe 80% of the people who were there, who were just regular MAGA people who were showing up to the different rallies that day in DC, had no intention of going in there and occupying the Capitol.
Yeah.
But two specific groups, mostly, I would just say the Oath Keepers, who are more like a constitutional militia of former law enforcement, and then the Proud Boys, who are a drinking club, they definitely had the full intentions of occupying the Capitol and causing some damage. Because the last thing that Stuart Rhodes said to me after that phone call, is the last thing he said on the phone call, I mean, was, I just hope those motherfuckers start shooting so we can shoot back. So it's those guys, but those are the hardcore far right libertarians who believe in complete state government, the collapse of the federal government, and have no regard for the law, at least the law on a federal level. So
Yeah.
Stuart Rhodes and those dudes, like they are almost separatists, you know. and
These are people, but they're like the core. They're not even the core of MAGA. They're fringe of MAGA. I wouldn't
yeah,
think that, I don't think of MAGA as these people. I think, it's the nice little old lady in her red hat too. She's in there. These are people. I always think of the deep state. You hear about the deep state. That's what MAGA is against, the deep state, and that, Trump is the dragon slayer, and he's the one that's going to take down the deep state. And that's why they're so pissed off about Epstein. They're pissed off about Epstein
yeah.
because he is a byproduct of the deep state, and Trump is giving it a pass when he said he wouldn't, and he's let them down on that. I wonder if you have any take on this, but do you
Yeah.
think they let it go? Do you think Trump lets it go and then they let him go? Or
Well,
they
I'm happy that you brought up the fringe versus the main core demographic, because while the fringe is a minority, a far minority of Trump's support group, they are also the people who are most on the front lines for him. Those are the guys that will wear the costume, they'll be decked out in Trump gear, they'll buy all the merch, and they'll run into the Capitol, guns blazing, horns on their head, and make it happen. Well, whereas most of the middle of the road Trump supporters would not do something like that. I mean, most Trump supporters wouldn't even
Right.
go to a rally. I always use the example of if I'm at a dive bar in Amarillo, Texas, right? And I walk into a packed dive bar there. Everyone who's at that bar drinking supports Trump. Would any of those people be at the Capitol? Probably not.
No.
I don't think that he'll lose the dive bar in Amarillo. I don't think they are going to become liberals and turn overnight and say, you know what I mean? Wow, everybody was right about Trump. I love Pelosi. I wish I would have voted for Harris. But that minority, that maybe 5 to 10%, or maybe even less, who would run into the Capitol with the intention of causing violence, Epstein was their number one thing. QAnon is Epstein. That was the whole basis of their mythology. And so I think that he will maintain a solid middle of the road base, but he will lose the fringe, which will make it harder for him to really use them when he needs them, if that makes sense.
Right. You can use them as a cudgel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're there for that. God almighty, I just look at so much stuff. So where are you going from here, Callahan? Andrew Callaghan with us from Channel 5 News. What are you working on right now?
Well, I just bought back my old show called All Gas, No Breaks, which I had a contractual dispute and I lost it. So I was able to make enough money from ad reads to finally buy it back. And so I'm getting back this old RV that I used to live in.
Yeah.
All Gas, No Breaks were like, it was kind of like my non-political Americana subculture deep dive show. So I'm going to a bunch of different things that have nothing to do with politics. I'm going to an adult baby gathering. I'm going to the gathering
What's
of
an adult
juggalos.
baby gathering? Whoa.
Okay, I'll slow down. There's adults who dress up like babies and they commit fully to the act. We're talking they use the restroom in the diaper, they drink from a bottle. Sometimes they'll pay extra for what's called a mommy to give them breast milk to drink. And
We all hurt, Andrew. We all hurt in so many ways, and we need to feel safe in some way. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm reading about transracialism right now. Forget
What's
about
that?
transgender. That transgender is old. That's just, you identify as a woman. Forget about that. This is, Rachel Dolezal stuff. Back to the days of I identify as a black woman, or I identify people as another race. I'm seeing that everywhere. Now you're telling me people identify as infants,
Well,
babies.
the difference is that everybody used to be a baby, whereas you and me didn't used to be
Yeah.
black. So we
Speak
can,
for yourself. Speak for yourself.
yeah, so we could, a lot of people who are in the adult baby community didn't have very good childhoods. You know what I mean? So in
Right. Oh,
in
they
their
want to go
mind, they're
back.
like they want to redo and heal those wounds by committing fully to that
I
character.
did something for that. It's not a baby convention, but I went to the Hoffman process in have you ever heard of that? It's
Yeah.
up in Northern California. Study of your childhood between 0 and 13,
Mhm.
and you learn about the negative patterns in your life. It comes from one of your parents or both, and you either adopt the way they were with you or you act in rebellion to it. So I took 9 days up there. I don't recommend it for you unless you seem to have a nice childhood there in Philadelphia, and then you moved to Seattle, right?
Yeah, I had a pretty nice childhood in Philadelphia, but also what you just said makes me realize so many people, what they do is they rebel against their parents and they see them as like the worst people ever and want to be the
Yeah,
opposite. But then once they get past that rebellious phase, they boomerang entirely and they're exactly the same person as their
and become
parents.
them.
Yeah,
And
it's like everybody's. I feel like that's everybody's story. I'm becoming more like my dad every single day.
isn't that an unbelievable thing? So you grew up in Philly, Andrew
Yep.
Callaghan, and you went to then you middle school and kind of high school in Seattle. So if the Eagles are playing the Seahawks in the NFC championship, who do you root for?
I'm probably going to go for the Eagles because I moved to Seattle when I was 12,
Because they'll
and I
win.
kind of I was so scrambled by the move that I didn't really adopt Seattle teams. Somebody just commented on your thing. They said, "Wow, what's up with this guy? Louisville Cardinals hoodie, Phillies hat, and he's from Seattle. I guess I have to be a CIA agent then, Lisa."
So Andrew loves the Southwest, yet wears Phillies hat and Louisville shirt. Yeah, that's Lisa.
That's what it says. Yeah. Well, this was
Oh,
a gift from Hunter S. Thompson's wife. She sent me something in the mail, the author, and this was one of his sweatshirts that he wore in the final couple years of his life. So that's why I'm wearing it.
really?
Yeah.
Wait, is that the actual one?
Yeah, she sent it to me along with a couple books because she
You're
likes what we
wearing
do.
Hunter S. Thompson's sweatshirt that his wife sent you?
Yeah,
That's got to mean something. A
it
lot.
does. I debated on whether to wear it or not because it has this old smell to it, and but then I thought about it and I was like, Hunter would want me to just wear it.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't care about the sentimental value of crew necks. He probably hated the shirt anyway.
I got to tell you, Larry King's wife, when he died, gave me a set of his suspenders, and they hang on.
Are you
They,
serious?
dead serious.
Have you worn them yet?
I don't really wear suspenders, so they have them hanging on the wall. But I guess I could next time we chat, I'll wear Larry's suspenders. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
that special. He had like 50 pairs, but she did save one for me.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find a good time to wear suspenders because they're so out of style, at least from a white collar standpoint.
But everything comes around, man.
Yeah.
So it's cyclical.
And you're
Maybe
like your own boss, I'm assuming, so you can wear suspenders whenever you want.
I can wear. You don't want me to stand up right now. I'm going to just tell you that, pal. So, how many people do you have over there at Channel 5? You got a lot of subscribers. You're over 3.5 million or something.
Yeah, we have like 4 full-time employees. I'm careful about expanding and hiring too many people because I don't like having to fire people. And if for whatever reason we're at a stalemate and our content isn't really resonating with people, I would hate to have to lay somebody off for that reason.
That's a good answer right there. Well, I got to say, I'm fascinated with what you did there. You get a long session with Hunter Biden, 5 hours sitting down with Hunter Biden into a plus 3 hour interview with, I'm going to say, 173 F-bombs.
173 sounds like an accurate one. The part 2, my second conversation with Hunter Biden, which was filmed after the first, is coming out tomorrow morning. And I have
Oh,
noticed
really?
it's a bit lighter on the profanity.
Is it what kind of content does this have? Is he a little lighter, a little funnier, or is he?
It's a lot lighter, a lot more mellow. It's a visit to his art studio in Malibu, and the conversation is mostly about Epstein.
Oh, really? What are
Yeah,
his thoughts? Anything you can tease us with? What does he think?
just pretty much that Trump's probably not going to be able to recoup or maintain his loyal support base after this, and that that Trump's implicated deeply
I
in
don't
the
know.
Epstein files. But I mean, that's kind of what you expect him to say, right?
Right. I mean, he's survived everything else. They don't call him Teflon Don for nothing. So
What do you
uh,
think?
we'll see. I think he does survive it. I thought no. Candace Owens is a powerful voice, and she has said she will die on this hill. She will never let it go. Megyn Kelly has abandoned him and said, come out with it. But I think exactly like you said, he doesn't lose the bar in Amarillo, Texas.
Mhm.
And I think he'll outlast it.
But do
I
you
do.
think that? I mean,
What evidence do we have? He's beat everything else. Nothing has stuck to him. Nothing.
Yeah, I can just see another charismatic figure coming to the light in the next 4 years that could kind of take that core base away from him or let that more intense base. He's also getting older. I think this might be a natural segue to another conservative messiah.
Maybe. JD Vance wants it to be him. And Trump wants it. We're not done with Trump, by the way. He is not done trying to extend his stay. How he does that is going to be a miracle, but he might try. I mean, they're redistricting like crazy right now, adding more Republican seats, and
Mm.
probably won't piece together those votes though. Anyway, Andrew, I really appreciate your time. Andrew Callaghan, Channel 5 News. Just great stuff. Great to know you.
Yeah, it was a really great interview. Is it going to come out on YouTube?
It's live.
Oh, no way. But do you guys, this is live? Holy
100%.
shit, that's cool. Do you guys package it in some specific way though
I don't
after?
edit. I'm too lazy to edit, so I just go.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe I'll like screen grab some of it and I'll put some clips out and invite you as a collaborator because I feel like I answered some questions for the first time during this interview about how the Hunter Biden interview came to life and everything.
Awesome. Well, I would love it if you did. We'd be honored to be part of it. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. I'll see you around.
All right. The great Andrew Callaghan, the Edward R. Murrow, I call him, of modern journalism. I like that. Edward R. Murrow. Speaking of Edward R. Murrow, Clooney just played him on Broadway. And that's boy, Hunter Biden had a lot to say about George Clooney. Especially F him. Went off. There's so much in that interview if you haven't seen it. If you haven't watched the Hunter Biden interview, he just says, look, yeah, my dad's old. He's old as hell. Of course he's old. Like, we didn't know that. You watched him age in front. But he's traveling all over the country. They gave him Ambien. He talked about Ambien as the reason why his father was so out of it. Unfortunately, though, Hunter, there were just way too many other opportunities. Was he, on Ambien when he fell off the bike in Martha's Vineyard, when he walked the other way, at the D-Day, conference. Anyway, interesting guy, Andrew Callaghan, and that is it for Hot Mics today. We are back with Joy Taylor on Wednesday. Very interesting woman from Fox Sports. Thank you for watching, and if you have not subscribed yet on YouTube, please do. It's how we grow. So hotmics.com. YouTube.com is at Hot Mics with Billy Bush, and we'd love to have you there. We're brought to you by LA Golf, and check out lagolf.com. Get yourself some unbelievable golf gear, all designed by Bryson DeChambeau. That's it. See you Wednesday.